War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy. Volume 1, Part 1, Chapter 9. The only youngsters left in the drawing room, apart from the Countess's elder daughter, who was 4 years older than her sister and had assumed grown-up status, and also the young lady visitor, were Nikolai and Sonia, the niece. Sonia was a slim, petite brunette, with gentle eyes shaded by long lashes, a thick black braid of hair double-coiled around her head, with a sallow hue to her face and more so to her neck, and rather skinny bare arms that were sinewy, but nicely shaped. There was a smoothness in the way she moved, a gentle suppleness in her little limbs, and a kind of wary aloofness that suggested a pretty half-grown kitten would one day turn into a lovely cat. She seemed to have thought it necessary to get involved in the general conversation if only by smiling, but now, in spite of herself, she found her eyes under her long, thick lashes turning to her cousin, who was going off into the army. Her girlish passion, bordering on adoration, was so obvious that her smile didn't fool anyone. It was clear that the kitten had crouched only to pounce faster than ever on her cousin and tease him the moment they could get out of the drawing-room, like Boris and Natasha. "Yes, my dear," said the old count, addressing the visitor and pointing at Nikolai. "Now that his friend Boris has got his commission, because of their friendship, he doesn't want to be left behind. So he's giving up university and his poor old father. He's going into the army, my dear. There was a place waiting for him in the archives and all that. But that's friendship for you, isn't it?" "They do say war has been declared," said the visitor. "They've been saying that for ages," said the count. "They'll say it again lots of times before they stop. But that's friendship for you, my dear," he repeated. "He's joining the hussars." The visitor shook her head, at a loss for words. "It's nothing to do with friendship," Nikolai blustered, exploding as if this was a dreadful insult. "It's not friendship. I just want to be in the army. It's my vocation." He turned to look at his cousin and the young lady visitor. They returned his look with a smile of approval. "Colonel Schubert's dining with us tonight. He's with the Pavlograd Hussars. Been here on leave, and he's taking Nikolai back with him. Can't be helped," said the count, shrugging his shoulders and making a joke out of something that had obviously caused him a lot of distress. "Papa, I've told you already," said his son. "If you really don't want me to go, I'll stay. But I know I'm useless anywhere except in the army. I'm not a diplomat or a civil servant. I am no good at hiding my feelings," he said, keeping the flirtatious eye of a handsome young man on Sonia and the young lady. The kitten, with her eyes glued on him, seemed likely at any second to pounce like a real cat and start teasing him. "Very well, then," said the old count. "Such passion. It's that man Bonaparte. He's turned all their heads. They keep thinking about him rising from little corporal to emperor. Well, God bless them," he added, not noticing the visitor's smile of amusement. While their elders began talking about Bonaparte, Julie, Madame Karagin's daughter, turned to young Rostov and said, "I missed you at the Arkharovs on Thursday. It was very dull without you," she said, giving him a sweet smile. Feeling flattered, he smiled his flirtatious young man's smile and moved closer to her. With the equally smiling Julie, he started a private conversation, blissfully unaware that his spontaneous smile had pierced a jealous Sonia to the heart. She was left with a forced smile on her blushing face. In mid-conversation, he happened to glance at her. Sonia glared back venomously, got to her feet and left the room, scarcely holding back her tears and still wearing that forced smile. Nikolai's loveliness evaporated. He waited for the first break in the conversation and went off to find Sonia, his face a picture of dismay. "Oh, these young people, they do wear their hearts on their sleeves," said Anna Mikhailovna, nodding after Nikolai's retreating figure. "Cousins, troubles in dozens," she added. "Yes," said the countess, when the ray of sunshine had come into the room with the young people and had vanished, as if she was answering a question that no one had asked, but was always on her mind. "How many trials and tribulations we have to go through in order to enjoy them as they are now, and even now I'll swear there's more dread than enjoyment. You're always afraid for them, especially at the age when there are so many dangers both for girls and boys." "It all depends on how they were brought up," said the visitor. "You're quite right," the countess went on. "Up to now, thank God, I've been a good friend to my children, and they trust me completely." The countess was repeating the delusion of so many parents who imagine their children have no secrets from them. "I know my daughters will always turn to me as their first confidant. I know that if Nikolai, with his impulsive nature, gets up to no good, boys will be boys. It won't be anything like those young gentlemen in Petersburg." "Yes, they're splendid children, splendid," agreed the Count, who resolved all his thorny problems by finding everything splendid. "Just imagine my son a hussar. Still, whatever you want, my dear." "Your younger girl is such a nice creature," said the visitor. "What a fireball!" "She's a fireball, all right," said the Count. "Takes after me. And what a voice! I know she's my daughter, but I'm telling you she's going to be a singer. Another Soleimani. We've engaged an Italian to give her lessons." "Isn't she too young?" "They say it damages the voice to train it at that age." "Too young? No, she isn't," said the Count. "Don't forget, our mothers used to get married at 12 or 13. "Well, she's certainly in love with your Boris. How about that?" said the Countess, smiling gently and looking at Boris's mother, once again prompted by an idea that was constantly on her mind, and she went on. "If I was too strict with her, you see, if I was to stop her, heaven knows what they might get up to on the quiet. She had in mind kissing, whereas now I know every word she speaks. Tonight she'll come to me and tell me everything. Perhaps I do spoil her a bit. Well, I think it's the best thing to do. I was strict with the eldest." "Yes, I was brought up quite differently," said the girl in question, the radiant young Countess Vera, with a smile, but unusually it was a smile that did nothing for Vera's face. On the contrary, she looked unnatural and therefore unpleasing. She, the elder sister, was good-looking, quite intelligent, good at her lessons, and well brought up. She had a nice voice, and she talked good sense. But it was odd. Everybody there, including the visitor and the Countess, looked at her in some surprise when she spoke, and they were all embarrassed. "You're always too clever by half with the first ones, trying to do something different," said the visitor. "Our sins will out." "My Countess was a bit too clever with Vera," said the Count. "Never mind, she's turned out splendid all the same," he added with a wink of approval in Vera's direction. The visitors got up and left, accepting the dinner visitation. "Dreadful manners. I thought they'd never go," said the Countess as she saw them off. Chapter 10. When Natasha came rushing out of the drawing-room, she ran only as far as the conservatory, where she stopped and listened to them still talking in the drawing-room, and she waited for Boris to come out. She soon began to lose patience, stamping her little foot and almost bursting into tears when he did not come. And then she suddenly heard someone's footsteps. Not too relaxed, not too quick, the measured tread of a young man. Natasha nipped between two tubs of flowers and hid. Boris came to a halt and stood there in the middle of the room, glanced round, flicked a speck of dirt off the sleeve of his uniform, and went over to the mirror to examine his handsome face. Natasha kept quiet, and peeped out of her hiding place, wondering what he was going to do. He stood there for a moment before the glass, smiled at himself, and walked towards the opposite door. Natasha was just about to call him when she had second thoughts. "Let him look for me," she said to herself. Boris had only just gone when in through the other door came Sonia, all red in the face and mouthing some angry words through her tears. Natasha stopped herself from running out to meet her, and stayed in hiding, as if she was magically invisible, to watch what was going on in the world. She was enjoying an exquisite new pleasure. Sonia was muttering something and glaring round at the drawing-room. The door opened, and out came Nikolai. "Sonia, what's wrong with you? How could you?" said Nikolai, running up to her. "It's nothing. Leave me alone." Sonia was sobbing. "No, I know what it is." "That's all right, then. Go back to her." "Sonia, just let me speak." "Can you really want to torture me and yourself over a silly bit of nonsense?" said Nikolai, taking her hand. Sonia left her hand where it was, and stopped crying. Natasha, holding her breath, as quiet as a mouse, looked out from her hiding place with gleaming eyes. "What's next?" she thought. "Oh, Sonia, you're more than the world to me. You're everything," said Nikolai. "I'll prove it to you. I don't like it when you talk like that." "Well, I won't then. Please forgive me, Sonia." He pulled her close and kissed her. "Oh, how nice," thought Natasha, and when Sonia and Nikolai had gone out of the room, she followed them and called for Boris. "Boris, please come here," she said with a sly, meaningful look. "I've got something to tell you. Here," she said, and she led him into the conservatory, to the place where she had been hiding between the tubs. Boris followed, smiling. "What's something?" he inquired. She was embarrassed. She looked round, and when she saw the doll she had dropped onto a tub, she picked it up. Kiss my doll, she said. Boris looked at her eager face, closely, tenderly, and said nothing. You won't? Well, come here then, she said, plunging further in among the flowers, and she threw the doll away. Closer, closer, she whispered. She grabbed hold of the young officer's cuffs, and her blushing face was a mixture of triumph and alarm. Would you like to kiss me? Her whisper was barely audible, as she peeped up at him coyly, grinning and almost weeping with emotion. Boris went red in the face. You are a funny girl, he managed to say, bending down towards her, redder than ever, but without actually doing anything. He was waiting for the next move. Suddenly, she skipped up onto a tub to make herself taller than Boris, flung her slender, bare arms right round his neck, and flicked his hair back with a toss of the head. Then she kissed him right on the lips. She slipped away between the plant pots, went round behind the flowers, and stood there with her head bowed. Natasha, he said, you know I love you, but are you really in love with me? Natasha broke in. Of course I am, but please, we mustn't do that again. In 4 years' time, then I shall ask for your hand. Natasha thought things over. 13, 14, 15, 16, she said, counting on her tiny little fingers. Good, it's all settled then? And her excited face radiated delight and relief. Yes, said Boris. Forever? Said the little girl. Till death do us part? And, taking his arm, with happiness written all over her face, she walked quietly beside him into the next room.